It says in Hebrews 4:15 that we have a high priest who is tempted in all ways as we are, yet without sin. But how is it that God could be tempted in all ways and yet he never had to deal with, relationships or divorce or something like that? That must be something that's unique to the human condition, right? Hey, I'm Doug Hamp. Welcome to Bible Buzz number 26. We are looking at the question of whether God got divorced. So, did God actually have to endure the temptation or the trial, if you will, of divorce? I mean, that's kind of a big deal, right? I mean, it's something that affects us, unfortunately. People of all shapes, size, colors, religion, etc., and every other various denomination. It doesn't really matter who you are. It seems to strike in all kinds of different ways. So what's up with this whole divorce question? Well, the reality is that God actually did get divorced. I know it's hard to believe, but that is what the Bible says. So I want you to understand, and I'm going to paint this picture so that you can understand of what really happened. So think of it like this. Essentially, imagine just for a second that you're kind of like God, all right? And you fall in love with this young woman who later gets sold into slavery. She's beautiful. She's wonderful. You think the world of her, right? So against all odds, you go out to rescue her. You scale the mighty mountains. You pass through the dangerous dales, and you've even defeated the dreadful dragons, okay? And you have rescued your love at a great cost to yourself, but it was all worth it to save your true love, right? You sweep her away from her chains and prison, and the two of you wed. Well, at your wedding, you exchange vows, covenanting to be faithful and to love only each other. All right, there'll be no other special relationships in your life. Sure, you'll have friends, she'll have friends, but that exclusive, intimate relationship is now solely set apart for her, and she is solely set apart for you. So you proudly declare that she is your chosen, your special treasure, your little numkins, right? Your little sweet little thing, okay? And all the earth, and that there is none as precious as her. You also promise her riches and children, and peace and joy, and all that she could ever want. And as part of your vows, she promises not to have any other men in her life, but to be wholly set apart to you. She promises not to put any pictures up or any videos or keepsakes of any other guys in her possession. She's not going to be emailing men at strange hours of the night. She's not going to have all these guys on Facebook that she's flirting with. She's not going to do that. She's going to be thinking about you and you alone. Now, this is important because when you guys got married, she took your name. All right, she's now Mrs. You. Okay, so if your last name is Smith, then she is now Mrs. Smith, right? She is carrying your name. Her reputation becomes your reputation and vice versa. So it becomes very important that she uphold your name, for her sake, for your sake. And whatever she does becomes her reputation. Whatever you do becomes her reputation. So whatever either of you do from now on, whether good or evil, it's going to directly reflect on the other. So you promise to honor and exalt her name, and she promises to honor and exalt your name. And then you promise to set aside a day in 7. Once a week, you're going to have just a special day with her. Right, this is an amazing time. You guys promise that you're gonna make it special for each other. It's gonna be exclusive to one another. You're setting this day apart for each other. You're not gonna go to work on that day. She promises us to hang out with you, but you say, you know what, sweetheart, you can just sleep in, you can relax, you can lounge, kick back, no cares in the world. I've taken care of everything. All right, it's the day where you guys can grow in your relationship with one another, and you can talk to each other and share your hearts in a way that is distinct from the rest of the week. Now, in addition to these vows, you share with her your recipe for how to treat others, which will lead to a successful and abundant life. Because really, that's what you want, and that's what she wants. You guys both want to have a blessed life together. And so you share with her these insights that you've gotten. You're an incredibly wise person, and you share these fantastic insights with her. And if she'll just do these things, she's going to have a great life. All right, that's really pretty much all you tell her to do. So your formula, it's revolutionary because it's outwardly focused and not inwardly focused. You know, she's known a couple of guys before, and they were all about me, 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 me. But your formula says, no, think about the other person, okay? And that is what's so wonderful about it. It's concerned with how to treat others in a way that you'd want to be treated. It always seeks the other's good and their highest. And so you tell her that if you follow this formula, it's going to lead to life and blessings. But if she doesn't, that it's going to lead to pain, sorrow, curses, and probably ultimately death. Now, she eagerly agrees to follow your formula, knowing that you have her highest in mind as well. You then kiss your bride. All right. Now, a great feast is held to celebrate this momentous occasion. After some time, she disappears, though, and you can't find her. So you go out searching for her. Hey, have you seen my wife? We just got married. It's our wedding day. I mean, we're still enjoying this wonderful feast. And so, after searching with an anxious heart for a while, you sadly discover that she's in a back room with an old fling, and you're crushed, you're brokenhearted, you're distraught. How could she do this? This is the one that I went, and fought the dragon for. This is the one that I did everything necessary to save her from this awful time. How could she do this? How could she betray me? You're brokenhearted, and you just can't get over it. In fact, her unfaithfulness was on your very wedding day. I mean, how could she? Your sadness, it turns into anger at her unfaithfulness. How dare she do this to me? After all that I did for her and how ungrateful she is, I just can't believe it. And so you think, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm divorcing her right now. We're just going to end it right here and now, and it's over. But then you think, she had a kind of a bad upbringing. Her parents weren't that great. She had some really bad role models in her life, and she was locked up for years, and nobody really taught her how to love somebody. Nobody really taught her how to be faithful. So, all right, I'll give her another chance. I can't bring myself to do it. I I could, but I won't. And so I'm just going to forgive her, and I'm going to forget about it. And yeah, I know. My enemies have already heard about what she said. Your enemies have already heard about what your wife has done here. And you know that they're going to use it against you someday. They're going to use it to slander you. But that's the risk you're willing to take because you still love your wife. Well, you guys then move into your new house and you begin making it your home. You have children, you share wonderful moments, and you are providing abundantly for your wife. It's amazing. It's just as you promised. You've given her everything. She's got a gorgeous house. The pantry is always stocked full with stuff. There are several cars in the garage. I mean, everything she could possibly want, you've given her. And, she, on the other hand, has never quite overcome the tendency to have that wandering eye and look at other guys. And there have been many times during your marriage that you had to simply look away and just pretend not to notice. Of course, each time it broke your heart, but you're a really patient and kind of guy. And so you really wanted to work out between you. So you just put up with it. But there's a day that comes when you notice that money begins disappearing, and all those beautiful things that you bought her start to disappear from the house. Well, you ask her about it, and she denies knowing anything about this. I don't know what you're talking about. And but then you begin to see those rings, and you begin to see those necklaces, things that you bought for her on those special occasions. You begin to see them throughout the town, and you begin to see them on the daughters of other people and on other women. You're like, well, wait, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And again, you ask her, she denies it, and you're kind of beside yourself because you know that they're yours. They have your insignia on them. There's no question that these are your things that you gave to her. They're hers, but you gave them to her. And now they're all over town, and you're a little bit distraught. How can this possibly be? how can all my stuff be out there? Well, you know, it's bad, because it's not just bad enough, because you eventually discover that she's not only seeing other men, but she's actually paying them to, be her lovers. I mean, it's adultery is bad enough, but she's actually paying them. And this is what you discover. And so now, you know, you confront her about it. You tell her, this has got to stop. You're my wife. You've got my name. You're Mrs. Me, right? You can't go around doing this kind of stuff. And why would you do this? You're breaking my heart. And, you start to hear this, people snicker, and they start talking behind your back. Oh, yeah, nice wife you got there. Oh, yeah, she's amazing. And they say all kinds of stuff about your wife. And it really hurts. It really hurts because, for one, it's true. But two, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. It just wasn't supposed to happen that way. She was supposed to be faithful to you. And you start hearing people, "A nice wife you got there," one guy shouts. And another says, "Hey, thanks for the money, buddy." And you look at all the gestures and you're kind of dumbfounded when you see that, again, that one of a kind necklace that you bought for your wife on your anniversary is on the neck of another man's wife. And your wife has paid her lovers with the precious keepsakes that you bought her. It's not just the money, but it was something that you gave especially to her. Not only that, but she's actually murdered many of the children that she's had from these illicit relationships. And finally, you just can't take it anymore. You've been married for decades, and she's not changed one bit, but has actually grown more destitute. And it's with incredible sorrow that you decide that, you know what, it's over. I just can't do this. And so you vow to find a way to restore the woman that you once loved. You say, I've just got to end it. I can't do this anymore. We're gonna end it. So you file the divorce papers and you excise her from your will, so that neither she nor the children that she birthed from her many lovers will have any part of you or your estate. They're completely cut off. Oh, how your heart aches. The wife of your youth is gone. Your home is not the same without her. But after some time, you find a way to bring her back to you. You find a way that if she's willing to turn from all the evil that she's committed, that she can come back. And you find a way to annul that wickedness if she'll just admit her fault and promise not to do it again. You get really excited. And because, when you guys exchange your vows, there were some stipulations that you both agreed to. In your covenant, you both agreed that if she were found guilty of adultery, then you had the right to divorce her. And if she became another man's wife and the same thing happened, that he found her guilty of adultery and sent her away, then she could not remarry you because it will pollute the land and bring a curse. But you grin a little bit because you have thought up an amazing plan that will allow her to remarry you and will cancel that blood oath, that stamp, that covenant that you guys made. It's going to cancel that, so that you both made in your marriage covenant. And you pause for a moment, because while your plan will resolve everything, it is going to come at a tremendous cost to you. So your plan is to die and then to miraculously come back to life. It's pretty cool. It's a great plan, but it's gonna hurt. And by dying, what's gonna happen is you're gonna cancel all the consequences and curses that she incurred by having committed adultery when you were married under your first marriage covenant. And if you die, your reason, then she will no longer be considered an adulterer, because the law of the land is until death do us part. So if you die, therefore, she is free to remarry. The trouble, of course, is that you want her to be your wife again and not another's. So the second part of your plan is that you actually come back to life. And this is the cool thing, is that you found a way to do that. Usually most people can't do that. They die, they generally stay dead. But you are so amazing. You found a way to come back from the dead. So awesome. And when you do that, it's going to wipe away those curses. So you prepare for the big day. You die as planned, and and the curses that she was under because she violated the marriage covenant are canceled. She's no longer legally an adulterer because she's no longer your wife because you're dead. You died. So until death do us part, well, you died, and now she's free to remarry. And all of those stipulations, those curses, etc., that came as a result of her breaking that covenant are now laid to rest with you in the grave. This is amazing. But now you're going to come back to life. You've canceled the marriage contract, so that took care of part one, and now the next part of your plan is to cheat death. Oh, it's amazing. So when you come back to life, you and she can now remarry legally. You're not breaking any law. She's no longer an adulterer, and you no longer have this adulterous wife. You now have a new wife because the old wife kind of died with you, and you literally died. So you're not the same guy that you were before. I mean, you are, but you're not. But you are, but you're not. It's really amazing. It's such an incredibly ingenious plan. Nobody thought of it before. You're kind of a little bit proud of yourself. It's pretty cool. It's a great plan, and it resolves everything. And now all she has to do is to just admit that what she had done before was wrong, and now just again pledge herself to be with you, to be your wife, to be faithful, to do those things. And you're going to help her because you're actually going to help put those things in her heart that she didn't want to do before. Well, it's pretty amazing. So you come back, and again, she just needs to promise to be faithful to you. And if she'll do those two things, to not commit adultery and to promise to not do it again. So if she'll do those two things, then you promise to take her back and return her to her former position as your bride, as your wonderful wife. And the handwriting that was against her is literally destroyed by way of your death. That handwriting, that was the divorce certificate that you issued against her because you had to, because she was doing things that were awful. So, again, when you think about God's divorce, I hope that this helped you a little bit just to see from God's perspective what God had to do. God married Israel back at Mount Sinai after taking her out of Egypt. He rescued her. He married her. She became his wife. She became later an adulterous wife. In fact, on their honeymoon, you might say, she was off with that golden calf kind of thing. And then she continued to do that again and again with these various different gods. And you just kind of said, don't do that. You kind of looked away. You said, until finally, after your wife, the one United Kingdom split into two in 932 BC, and then you had the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and the house of Israel was incredibly wicked. So in 722 BC, you sent the Assyrians to come and to take her away, and you issued a divorce certificate written about in Jeremiah 3:8. But you promised that you'd bring her back. In Hosea chapter 1 and chapter 2, you said, you're no longer my wife. I'm no longer your husband. I'll no longer have mercy upon you. You're not my people. But then you said, but I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to make you my bride once again. And so you did all this because you love your wife. You died. God died, of course, so that he could bring back his wife, Israel. It's exciting. And remember, there's two houses. There's a house of Judah. There's a house of Israel. These two split. And it was through the death, burial, and the resurrection that these two houses can now become one house again. It doesn't. It's not that the house of Israel replaces the house of Judah. The house of Judah doesn't replace the house of Israel. You give two houses, but now they're one. They're reunited. They were two sticks. It was one stick. It broke in two, and then they became one again. That's what we read about in Ezekiel chapter 37. This is how much God loved Israel, that he was willing to die so that he could make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, so that she could be that one united bride again. It's an amazing story. I'm glad that God got divorced, because it was because of the divorce that he then could get remarried and he could restore all things to himself. What an amazing God we have. We are truly blessed. I'm grateful to him. Guys, keep studying the word. God is awesome. Yes, God did get divorced, but he gets remarried. It's a good story. God bless you.